Hey guys, Slater Magic here, and this video might sound different again because I had to rebuild my whole computer with a new motherboard, and it turns out going to the Z390 chipset of literally the exact same board gets you a drastically different sound card, or onboard sound adapter. The new software sucks. I can't turn on monitoring unless I want it to be a quarter-second delayed, so I can't actually hear myself as I'm recording, and I had to amp up my mixer about 20x. Just to get it to sound like this. So yeah, I'll be adjusting this, but I ran out of time and I just gotta make this damn video, so whatever. I'm probably just gonna have to put a second set of headphones directly into my mixer, because this is ridiculous. Thanks Realtek for replacing your actually good software with featureless garbage. So let's start with a spoiler today that's making everybody lose their damn minds. It's pre-ordering at $160, although I can't really say that because it says quantity 0 already sold out at Card Kingdom. I have a feeling it's closer to 200 plus, because it's literally just Black Lotus. So we've got Jeweled Lotus. It's a 0-drop artifact, and you tap it and sack it, and then add 3 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast your commander. So it's literally Black Lotus, but you can only spend the mana on your commander, and that's it. Which, I mean, yeah, that's a big limitation. This is really only about as powerful as a card that would say, take your commander from your command zone and drop them into play, which I'm not sure that exists. But even if it did, that would be like really narrow free casting. So everybody's like, oh, it's Lotus, it's Lotus, yeah, but you can't spend it on any of the cards in your hands. So what the hell is the point? And for people saying, oh, but it's another hyper powerful usable 0-drop artifact. Yeah, but I mean, it's commander, it's eternal. There's more than a couple of those if you're just going artifact affinity. So I think people are overreacting a bit. I don't think the price is overreacting. I think people will pay that. But all this does is fill in 1.5 penalties for your commander one time. And remember, you have to go get this out of your deck somehow. So naturally draw it, or, I don't know, tutor it? Why don't you just tutor another card that generates 3 mana? I mean, like any of the red ones that are banned and everything. Those only do red, so they only apply to some commanders. But like, this just, it's good. It's giant power creep. We've never had anything quite like this before. But all it does is let you cast your commander once. So I think people are like overreacting a bit to it, but do I think they should have printed this? No. From just a greedy cash grab standpoint, yeah, this is a greedy cash grab. Now that said, if this happens to be in your opening hand, I mean, it is a problem that you could cast a 4-cost commander on turn 1, potentially your opponent's turn 0. That could be a bit problematic. So, I mean, the fact that this costs 0, yeah, I think it's pushed a bit. It's just people are losing their minds calling it literally a photocopy of Black Lotus. So speaking of that, some of you might be thinking, aren't they not supposed to reprint cards that are on the reserve list? Well, the official rule, I should actually read it. I was going to do it from my head, but I'll go find it. Okay, Wizard's own statement says, reserved cards will never be printed again in a functionally identical form. A card is considered functionally identical to another card if it has the same card type, subtypes, abilities, mana cost, power, and toughness. No card will be added to the reserve list in the future. I read one too many lines, but that's good to know too. Now, I could have sworn that they made an official policy that they won't print something that is a functionally identical or a superior card, so an improved version of a card that's already on the reserve list. But I don't know, have they ever done that? I can't think of one example, but if they didn't say it, I feel like they've done it, and there are some really, really weak cards on the reserve list. So, I mean, technically, if they made Jet Black Lotus and it was a Black Lotus, but you got 4 mana out of it, then I guess they could print that. That's why I could have sworn they said that somewhere. Don't know, couldn't find it. Look at multiple sources, couldn't find it. So, all right. But this is clearly a weaker, narrower version of Black Lotus because you can only spend the mana on one thing. Now, a 5-cost commander in play on turn 2, that's a little much. But I've had people tell me, oh yeah, turn 2, 3, I used this, this, and this, or whatever, and I got out my, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-cost commander, whatever the hell, on like turn 3. So this isn't like unheard of. So their commander's in play and their deck's doing what it's supposed to do just starts a couple turns earlier. Like, that's probably not the end of the world. And you start with 40 as a life total, so it's not like it's a death sentence. And late game, I mean, there are so many cards that would do almost the same damn thing. Like, this pales into comparison to any Simic ramp deck once it gets going. I mean, there's like, tap for mana equal to your green devotion. Recurring tap for the amount of charges on this, permanent. You don't even have to sack it. I mean, early game, this would be pretty obnoxious, but like, it has to be in your opening hand to be a problem. And if it's not, the more turns that go on, the less good this is. So From a power perspective, people are freaking out a little bit more than they should. But also, like I said, my official stance is Wizards should not have printed this. This is such a greedy cash grab. And plus now, every single Commander player is like, well, I guess I could use this in my deck. I guess I need this now. And yeah, who would not want this? I mean, I guess me, because my Commander is Eiley. She costs 2. I mean, what am I going to just hope that this shows up right when she's already died once, but it's still like turn 3? No. So Gavin, the creator of this product and honestly probably this card, says that generally we are trying to not make cards that go into almost every deck / every deck of a certain color combo. Really? Well, this and that little infinity piece of crap with Noah Bradley's art on it, that's a dumpster fire. That goes into every deck that, generates mana. So all of them. So they also didn't want to obsolete older cards. They didn't want to replace popular commanders. That's really important for the long-term health of the format, he said. And then he even edited the post to say, okay, well, here's my separate statement about Jeweled Lotus. Because, everything he said they're not doing, they did. So let me read his ridiculous bullshit statement. Hey all, this was a very eye-popping card for everyone, as I'm sure you'll agree, and as a result, we played with it a lot. We also knew it would be a controversial card in the set. I mean, it's a Lotus, which is why we premiered it on our stream. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you not give it to somebody in the community? Did they not trust them to just blurt out, look at this broken shit, look at my spoiler, what a disgrace. I think that's what he's saying, legit. Like, why else would he have said that? There are certainly some decks that will be happy to play this. It's particularly good with high CMC commanders, which everybody seems to play, to get something like Godo onto the table early. There are also some 4 CMC commanders that are strong to turbo out if this is in your opener. Oh, good. I'm glad he named the scenario that I just named, because now we're both on the same page. That said, I believe it is far from a staple. Well, you're wrong. That's idiotic. Tons and tons of commander decks won't want to play this. No, I mean, maybe the percentage, no. You are welcome to quote things back to me about it being a staple after we play with them. Who's we? That doesn't make any sense. If that turns out to be the case, I don't know who he's referring to or what he means there. Commander games are generally long and about resources over time. Spending cards for a quick mana burst, for example Dark Ritual, is generally not a strong strategy in Commander because it expends many resources for a quick advantage. And let me remind you, by the way, I'm just going to throw this in, you can't use this card or this mana to draw cards. So once you use this, poof, it's gone. You better make damn good use out of your Commander because you just spent kind of 2 cards, not really, but I mean 1 casting of your commander plus this card to get your commander out, and they might instantly die. You're not gonna, it's turn 1 and I got out my 4 CMC commander. Well, everybody else, all 3 of the other players in this game are now dead because of it. 3 life totals of 40, you're all dead. No, really, you're just short a card and got your commander out early. I mean, he's got a point. They still shouldn't have printed it though. And it absolutely is a staple to the vast majority of players, just saying. So he goes on to say, in many decks, this card will play weaker than a 2 mana generating mana rock, because you can use those multiple times and the difference is only 1. He is absolutely correct about that, unless getting out your commander on turn 1 is very beneficial to you and very broken, and puts your opponent or opponents on defense for, the next 10 turns. I mean, who knows? You never know. If they got removal, it probably won't. If you're playing Goblin Tribal, it probably will. This could go very wrong and be very broken in the right deck. Let me remind you, though, once again, that a 2 mana rock can be spent on anything. The mana you can spend on, like, real cards, not just your commander. So he goes on to make more excuses, and I mean, he's not wrong, but he is wrong that they should have printed this. And the $160 price tag is pretty wrong, too, but by a different definition of the word wrong. And then he ends the post, I kid you not, by telling people that the rules committee, aka the card banning committee, is keeping a close eye on it. So that ought to make you nervous if you're going to invest $160 in it. And then he says, ha ha ha, yes I know, here comes all the jokes about Wizards playtesting. And that's the end of the post. Wow, that is one hell of a way to end a post. He just took a U-turn and drove directly in the opposite direction. I think he knows what I'm about to mention next, which is highly competitive Commander, which is an absolute joke of a format. It's basically vintage. Everybody wins on turn 2 with some cascading, tutoring, just trash. And it's an insult to Commander gameplay, and if you bring a deck like that to any place other than a 1v1 competitive Commander tournament, which most people honestly consider to be a different format, you're going to get kicked out of that playgroup. So, yeah, this would probably be pretty broken in one of those. I feel like it's not like I've studied the most highly competitive win on turn 2 infinite combo horseshit decks, because I have no interest in that, but I just have a feeling that this would be part of them. Like, you could probably go get this, you could drop it in for 0, and then you're +3 to get your commander out, which probably does something that does something else, it does something else, and then you win the game. So that's why he said the RC is watching this, and they'll basically ban it if necessary. Right after he got done saying, there's no problem with this, it's not even that good. Yeah, it's not even that good in a long game, in a value-oriented game, in a normal game of Commander. But if you play in a broken, high competitive, tier 1 game of Commander, usually not multiplayer, this is going to be pretty messed up, and it's probably going to end up getting banned. In any normal, more appropriate game, this is not even an amazing game-ending card. It's just like, oh, look how far ahead you are, and now you're down a card. Cool. Would I rather have a Soul Ring than this in the average game? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And I run Asperia in my main deck. She costs 6. That said, if I got Asperia out on like turn 2 or 3, I am so ahead of people because every time they swing at me, per creature swinging at me, I draw a card. Can you imagine that starting on like turn 2 or 3? I'm untouchable unless they have a removal spell. And so I sit there not getting attacked, and I build up a bunch of counterspells, removals, and don't swing at me cards, like Aetherize. That would be devastating. But it would all have to come together, and a card that generates 2 mana is really close to a card that generates 3. Just saying, and you could use it multiple times, and you can spend the mana on other cards. But still, that board state that I would cause would be horrific. So what does that come back to? People are overreacting, but at the same time, Wizards shouldn't have printed it. That is my official stance. This is just a greedy, stupid cash grab. They called it Lotus. They put a Lotus on the damn artwork. I mean, they know what they're doing. I'm actually shocked they didn't put it in a secret lair. By the way, we're running out of products to have fetch lands in. So I fully expect to see 5 or more fetch lands in this set because they said they're coming in a product in 2021 that isn't a secret lair, and then they put it in a secret lair and everybody thought that's what they were talking about. Guys, they said not a secret lair, and it's almost November. And we already know all the products and sets coming out in 2021 in theory. Probably not all the products, but all the main ones. So I think this is going to jack up the opening value, and then the 5+ fetch lands that should be in here eventually, announced eventually, they're going to jack up the price pretty good. Which is good because, we saw a couple $50 cards and that's it. It hasn't looked like the best value set so far. It really hasn't. So I'm going to separate this spoiler vid and all the rest of the cards because the 2 videos have nothing to do with each other. And this one's long enough and merited its own separate discussion. But I'm going to try to run the EV calculation of just the normal ass boosters. But I haven't done those for past products because it's so hard with the, the collector's boosters, but if I just ignore them. Now they've got, you can open like a borderless or a borderless foil, but we're not going to tell you the odds. And then you can open the new foil treatment, but we're not going to tell you the odds. And I literally can't do the EV calculation. I could estimate it if we just ignore those cards. But if you ignore all the like $70 bombs, well, that's probably not very accurate. And every time I go to some website that claims, oh yeah, we've got it down, this is it, I find blatant inaccuracies. One of them, they put in the rares from the Planeswalker deck. Like, okay, well, you can't open those, so that doesn't contribute to the EV, so you're already wrong from a fundamental level. So I think we will not know the EV of this before buying it and opening it. And I suspect that Wizards did that on purpose. They just want people to feel like, this looks good, I'll open it, but not actually know the hard math on it. Because remember, in the past, we've had a lot of sets where people are like, these look good, and then I do an EV video, and I'm like, well, it's not good. You could expect, on a good day, a 10% increase over what you paid, and like the eBay fees are 12%, not counting shipping. Good luck. So, I don't know. I'll at least be able to get a feel for it, and maybe like estimate what the entirety contribution of the ultra rares is and that kind of stuff. But it's looking like, the best money's in the collector's booster anyway, and that's really, really, really difficult to get the EV on. So if I can get something together, I'll make a video on it after all the spoilers end. But just in general, don't count on it. So I would make your purchase decision without like counting on that showing up at some point. So anyway, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you next video.